These days we take for granted that we can buy almost anything we want, anytime we want it.
But as our trading relationships face their biggest changes in decades, how much do we really know about the science and systems
Come on this far.
that enable Britain to import and export goods around the world on an unprecedented scale?
We're here to find out
How what we produce here
ends up on the other side of the world.
Whenever you go to Spain, it's our prawns you're eating. You just don't know it.
And the innovative ways Britain is trading with the rest of the world.
It comes in full of bananas and then goes out with a Mini. Amazing.
I'm Ed Balls.
Absolutely massive. It's like standing below a skyscraper.
And this week I'm going behind the scenes of the British car industry.
I'm so nervous.
To reveal the incredible logistics that allow us to transport over 3 million vehicles to and from our shores every year.
Does this ship go round and round the world?
We like to keep the ships moving.
Yeah.
If they're stood still, they're not making money for us.
Wow.
I'm Cherry Healy.
So you've got lots of little bits, and you have to keep track of all of them.
And I'll be investigating what makes us one of the world's leading car makers.
That is logistical genius.
I'm Adi Adepita. I'll be travelling the globe and finding out what the future of our automotive industry looks like. Look at that, this place is huge. It's absolutely mega.
We are a trading nation. We always will be.
And at this crucial time in our history, this is the incredible story of what Britain buys and sells in a day.
We are living in uncertain times, with Brexit potentially ushering in new tariffs, border checks, and impacting our trading partnerships. And there is one industry on the front line more than any other. I'm here in Southampton, one of Britain's largest ports, to see our biggest export market, cars. Cars are massively important to the UK. The industry employs over 820,000 people and turns over £82 billion a year. No other manufactured product has a bigger impact on our economy. And the entire business relies on international trade.
That means huge flows in and out of our country every day. And I'm here to find out how that works.
Southampton is the UK's #1 port for cars, with over 17,000 of them a week passing in and out. Key to Southampton's importance is geography.
The port is situated on England's south coast, close to international shipping lanes, and less than 100 miles from our biggest trading partner, Europe.
"7:15 a.m. A vast ship, loaded with millions of pounds worth of cars, arriving from Zeebrugge in Belgium, has just docked. The industry relies on a continuous movement of goods, and it all starts with giant ships like this, transporting cars in and out of Britain almost every hour of every day. To see what happens next, I'm meeting Vessel Services Manager Peter Lavelle.
Is this about as big as it gets?
Yeah, this is one of our bigger ones in the fleet. She's 230 metres long and just over 32 metres wide.
This is the Oberon. It's known as a ro-ro vessel, designed to allow cars to roll on and roll off.
It's almost hard to believe that actually can sail when you think of that full of all this kit.
Yeah, I mean, as an example, if she just loaded cars, she could take 7,500 cars over the 13 decks that she's got, so she could literally be a floating multi-storey car park.
And what is going to happen during the course of today?
Today's operation on the car side, for example, will result in us discharging about 420 cars,
right,
and then we've got 400 cars to load back into the same position. We're also loading 240 different models of what we call high and heavy cargo, so agricultural tractors, dump trucks, rock crushers, and then she'll be on her way across the Atlantic.
So she's going to America?
Yes, so she'll go over to Baltimore from Bristol.
In 3 months' time, there'll be some farmer in Iowa driving along his field in his tractor, and that tractor could have sat in this massive field of these big machines on Southampton dock just a few weeks before.
Yeah.
The first job is to unload the cars being imported, and that requires some good old-fashioned people power. Minibuses bring drivers on board who disembark each of the 420 cars one by one, a job that will take just 4 hours.
Does this ship ever stop, or is it just going round and round the world?
We like to keep the ships moving. When the ships are moving, they're making money for us.
Yeah.
If they're stood still, they're not making money for us.
And we're stood still, let's keep going.
The ceaseless nature of these logistics and the sheer speed of the operation is at the core of how this whole global business works.
Are these all going off?
Yes, these are going off.
Can I come off in one with you?
Let me get one, and then we can go for a ride, and I'll
Okay.
show you where the guys are taking them to.
I'll do a bit of row with you.
Yeah.
Fine. I'll let you pull out first.
Yeah.
Every year, about 2.3 million new cars hit the road in the UK. Over 85% imported from overseas. And thanks to the constant cycle of ro-ro ferries, around 1 million cars built in Britain go out through ports like Southampton. But it's not just the finished cars that are on the move through these docks.
Over there in the port are thousands of brand new cars all ready for export. And at the same time, container ships like this are arriving from Europe and all over the world, bringing the components to keep our car factories working.
It may sound strange, but most car factories don't actually manufacture cars. They simply assemble them from thousands and thousands of components, with around £36 million worth of parts arriving into Britain every single day. To see how those parts are assembled, Cherry is 160 miles north, at a car plant in Britain's manufacturing heartland.
Always moving, follow the whisper of the wind.
Toyota's plant in Burniston, Derbyshire. This place is gigantic. Spread over 2.3 million square metres, with a workforce of 2,600 people. This huge plant produces over 700 new cars a day, out of a multitude of components constantly arriving into the UK.
The reason that so many parts are arriving in Britain all the time is because most modern car plants use a manufacturing technique called just-in-time. Essentially, it means that each part needed to build the car arrives exactly when it's needed. Sound simple? Actually, a massive logistical operation.
It all starts with the arrival of 150 lorries like this one, bringing in the bits needed just for today's production.
Cheers, love.
In charge of making sure each part gets to where it's needed is section manager Kat.
So where does everything on this line come from?
So, first of all, we've got airbags there from the Czech Republic.
OK, Czech Republic.
We've got bolts from Japan.
That is a well-travelled bolt.
Badges all the way from Japan as well.
Very nice.
And the gear shift from Turkey.
Gear knob. So you've got lots of little bits from all over the place, and you have to keep track of all of them as they just flow through this warehouse.
Exactly, and they're all ordered for specific vehicles on specific days.
That is logistical genius. I'm sorry, that is amazing.
Every day, components ranging from wheel trims to power steering arrive in Britain from 180 suppliers worldwide. Parts are carefully selected based on availability and price, allowing the factory to maximize competitiveness.
I've never seen anything like it. So every different crate has a different part of the car in it.
Exactly.
How many parts do you bring in?
We bring in about 2 million parts a day, and there are about 3,600 different part numbers we fit on one car.
With just-in-time manufacturing, there's no warehouse full of stock, representing money just sat on shelves. The entire operation is about being nimble and highly cost-effective in every single step of the process.
So if all the lorries stopped arriving, how long could this factory carry on going?
We generally hold about 4 hours of inventory on site at Team UK.
So if the lorry stopped, the factory could carry on making cars for only 4 hours?
4 hours. We can manage small abnormalities, but if there was a major disruption, yeah, we'd stop.
The 4 hours production capability is why there are concerns in the industry about Brexit and new customs arrangements that could slow down just-in-time operations. After delivery, the parts are quickly transported across the factory to the specific section they're needed on the 800-metre-long production line. 160 separate stations work to build each vehicle.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Whether it's adding door handles or installing the hybrid electric engines. But the technicians here have just 84 seconds to complete their task before the car moves on. The factory produces around 130,000 cars every year, which means over 500 million individual parts need to arrive and get to the line just in time and just in sequence. With such a complex assembly as a car, even a few seconds saved on one task can improve margins and help make the product more competitive. And as line supervisor Dave Bowman explains, that's why staff are ever on the lookout for Kaizen, Japanese for continual improvement.
I've been told that you came up with a brilliant Kaizen.
Yes, we did. 12 months ago, we were looking at this process and we noticed that the member works under the vehicle 90% of the time. But he does have to tighten a nut on the outside of the vehicle, so we had to walk from under the vehicle round to the outside of the vehicle, both sides.
Adding a camera meant technicians could see the nut and tighten it from beneath the car instead of walking to it, saving 24 footsteps and shaving 10 seconds off the job.
10 seconds doesn't sound very much.
10 seconds over 700 vehicles a day is a lot.
Just in time and these small innovations are all about minimising wasted time and resources in order to maximise profits. With some new cars selling at £15,000 or more, you might think the profits are massive, but around half of a mass-produced car's value is in the parts alone, and manufacturer margins can be just 7%.
Hi Marvin, lovely to meet you.
Managing Director Marvin Cook has seen the factory at work since it opened.
I was here when we first started production. On day one, we produced just 4 cars, but of course we've come a long way since then. We've produced over 4 million cars and engines for the last 27 years. We make so many vehicles, so many variations, but we can only do that through just-in-time production.
This was Toyota's first major factory in Europe, attracted to the UK because of its skills, flexible labour market, and because English was a language learnt by many Japanese people, making this plant the gateway to the European market.
We're here to make cars for Europe. 90% of the products we make are exported, most of them for our EU customers. So most of the cars we actually produce here are left-hand drive.
So most of the cars I see around me are not even staying in the country?
No, 10% of them will remain in the UK, the remainder go for export.
Britain's free trade relationship with the EU has helped keep our car factories competitive. This is another reason why Brexit is worrying many in the car industry. With potential new import tariffs on parts and export tariffs on finished cars going out to the EU, the narrow profit margins on mass-produced cars could be significantly eroded. Preserving that trade is going to be crucial to the nation's income and livelihoods.
The industry is intimately interconnected with other countries, and it's those very connections that mean Britain can compete on a global scale.
It's now 9:42 a.m. and on average here in the UK, £35 million worth of British-made cars are on their way for export around the world.
But our influence is not only as a global manufacturer, it's also as a buyer. And our spending power can have a dramatic impact, not just on car manufacturers, but on entire economies.
Take Germany, for example. We import more cars from there than anywhere else. 769,000 of them in 2017, contributing around 20 billion to their economy and making us Germany's single biggest export market for cars. In Southampton, BMW has its own on-site facility where cars, mainly imported from Germany, go through their final preparations for their UK customers. To find out how they make the cars market ready, I'm meeting Rob Tweed.
So what happens here at the centre?
Well, so this is the Vehicle Distribution Centre, and here is where we carry out the PDIs, the pre-delivery inspections of the BMW vehicles that come into the Southampton port here in the south of England. So any one time we have up to 10,000 vehicles, that's BMW and Mini, that come through this centre, and about 25% of those vehicles go through that PDI process itself.
Are all these cars going through?
Yep, all the vehicles you see here will go through that process.
So can I choose the one I fancy?
Choose what you like.
I'm going for the big one.
First up is a damage check. This drive-in photo booth takes up to 17 snaps of the newly imported car in 6 seconds.
Okay, so yes, here we go. And as you can see, the booth contains 360-degree photographic capability.
Any imperfections or scratches picked up by the cameras get repaired. And now we're ready to take the vehicles out of something called transportation mode.
Basically, the vehicle's asleep. Okay, and what we do, when we bring it through this process, we wake the vehicle up.
So what's going to happen now is that we're actually going to unlock my car?
Exactly.
Using a wireless programming unit, the car's electronics are unlocked.
This car is now pretty much ready for its final customer.
This car is about to become one of the 15,000 new German cars registered in Britain each week.
In this moment, it becomes a proper car, doesn't it? It's activated, but without the number plates, it's not much use.
With the front plates on, it's time for me to fit the back.
I'm so nervous in this brand new car. If I slip, it could be catastrophe.
When it left the factory, my car was filled up with just enough fuel to get it on and off the ship, and then onto a transporter, which will deliver it to the final customer somewhere in Britain.
Okay, good to me.
While the German imports are off to their new owners, waiting to go out for export is a consignment of British-built Aston Martins. A luxury brand that trades on the UK's reputation for engineering excellence. To find out what makes our premium motors so in demand overseas, Cherry's heading to a company with a very different business model to the mass-produced cars she saw earlier.
For those more accustomed to four wheels, you may not be aware of Norton motorcycles. But Norton is to bikes what Aston Martin is to cars.
Norton are one of the world's most prestigious motorcycle brands. Once a household name with over a century of bike making behind them, by the early 2000s, the brand had all but disappeared.
But it's been brought back to life, and the story of how is extraordinary.
When you think of an automotive factory, you might think of a huge estate on the edge of a city. I think my sat-nav might be wrong, because this does not look like it at all. Holy moly, look at that. That is pretty epic. Wow.
This 18th century mansion is now the rather unusual HQ of a small company that builds 1,000 high-end motorbikes a year. The man behind the reincarnation of a classic British brand is Stuart Garner.
This doesn't look a lot like a motorcycle factory.
No, no, no. Welcome to Donington Hall.
Wow, this is amazing. How did you come to own Norton?
Yeah, it's a funny story. We got a call from the American owner of Norton in 2008 to see if we'd like to buy the brand. So we're well up for it. What do we need to do? He said, well, I'm in Minnesota. You're in the UK. If you want to buy it, you need to be in now and get the deal done before Friday because I have to sell.
Stuart flew to America, paying an undisclosed sum for the rights to the Norton name and 4 prototypes.
I mean, what a risk to just jump on a plane to Minnesota and sign those papers and come home with essentially a dream.
Yeah, but you would say risk, I would say one opportunity.
Yeah, well, that's because you're an entrepreneur and I'm not.
Stuart bet everything he had on his instinct that being able to use the label Made in Britain would generate demand across the world.
How important is the Britishness to the brand?
Well, yeah, to me it's everything. Just as today you accept a Swiss watch is the best in the world, back in the day a British motorcycle was held as the best in the world. And that still holds true today, that a lot of people will still say a British motorcycle is the motorcycle to have.
So where do you actually build the bikes? You don't build them here?
No, we don't build them in the drawing room, no. We've got a factory out the back. Fancy a look?
Yes, please.
Let's go and have a look.
From just one man back in 2008, today Norton employs over 100 people in their manufacturing facility just behind the main house. With 80% of their bikes sold overseas, some models are priced at over £40,000. The reason they fetch such a high price is that each one is hand-built, with most of the components made in the UK.
Why not just get this produced on a mass scale in a bigger factory?
Well, there's our owners and riders want something different. They don't want that mass-produced kind of stamped jelly mold frame and motorcycle. They want a unique experience and they want something exclusive.
So there's a real customer appeal, a real customer desire for something that's got a bit of love in it, a bit of craftsmanship.
Absolutely.
I want to see just what that craftsmanship entails. So I'm getting a lesson from master welder Bobby Tehan.
Okay, see you later.
I'm going to need one of those cool hats as well.
Yeah. Well, this is the helmet. This is the stuff you're going to get on board.
Fantastic. Oh, wow. Is that right?
Good. Yeah, tighten up in the back. Right, you ready?
Yep.
Don't move till I say so.
Okay.
Okay, so not a great start. Let's try again.
Time to weld.
That's actually very good.
Was that not too bad?
Not too bad at all.
Would that have stuck something together?
No.
I don't think I'm going to be welding a bike anytime soon.
Absolutely.
No.
The finished parts head to the assembly line, where just 2 mechanics put each motorcycle together. This is a very different business model to a mass-produced vehicle, which brings parts in from all over the world and assembles them as quickly and efficiently as possible.
So where are all these bikes going?
Yeah, so these are the Commandos and they're going anywhere across Europe, Australia, Japan, all over the world really. We go out to 26 territories.
Is there a trend for each country of what they
Yeah,
prefer?
you generally, the Japanese like their retro. The Americans will like some of the speed. The Italians are all about style and the look, you know.
And I've noticed on each of the different bikes, there's a hint of Union Jack, but it's very subtle. On this one, it's kind of faded.
Yeah,
Here is just
absolutely.
a tiny little flag.
It's kind of You know, it's Norton, so the buyer knows it's British. We're super proud we are British, so why wouldn't we put a little flag on, made in England?
Stuart, I feel like we've said a lot of words. It might be time to actually get on a bike.
Gonna ride a bike?
Shall
we? Let's go and do it. Let's find one. I think we've got one at the front.
Not too fast, please.
The thrill, excitement and risk of riding a motorbike is quite like Stuart's story. His belief in the Britishness of the brand and his commitment to hand building has led to international success and a business that turns over millions of pounds a year.
"12:15 p.m. By now, on an average day, Britain will have exported about £337,000 worth of motorcycles. Norton, like many businesses, are tapping into Britain's reputation for engineering excellence.
But that term, made in Britain, isn't always what it appears to be.
To help me understand why, I'm meeting Financial Times motor industry correspondent Peter Campbell.
So we're in the port of Southampton, big ro-ro ferry on the quay over there. They're loading up at the moment. You can see Minis going on, and actually rather a lot of Minis now aren't even made here in the UK. They're being made in the Netherlands.
Yes, there are several Mini models that are made in the Netherlands, but still I think have a Made in Britain stamp put on them, and then they're sold around the world. And there's even a new Mini joint venture over in China that's going to be manufacturing electric Minis in China and using those for the Chinese market. So the global car industry is very global, and even the car companies we think of as British are not necessarily British.
And it's fundamentally a global supply chain.
So the Minis that we see going down below us that are going into the boat over there, many of the parts in those cars will not only come from Europe, they'll have crossed between the UK and Europe multiple times during their life as components before they even went into that finished car in Oxford.
Isn't it a bit dodgy to build a car in the Netherlands and then stamp made in Britain on it?
There was a case a few years ago where the Porsche Cayenne was made at a plant in Slovakia and then shipped to Dresden, and one final part was added to that car. It was a made in Germany stamp, and they were then sold around the world as made in Germany. So the car industry is very adept at using its national heritage and the heritage of its brands to help bolster its sales all over the world, irrespective of where those cars are actually made.
Another fundamental change that has swept the industry in recent years is that almost all our famous British car brands are no longer British owned. Bentley is owned by Volkswagen, Jaguar by Tata and Mini by BMW. So there's a concern that Brexit could encourage foreign companies operating here to relocate abroad.
Are there things that government and the industry need to do now to make sure that this hugely successful, complex industry stays in Britain?
Free trade links between Britain and its overseas partners are the primary concern for all of the plant owners and manufacturers here in the UK. It's the fundamentals of what we're seeing here. It's getting their cars shipped from the UK overseas and getting their parts in time. Because let's face it, the reason that most car manufacturers came to the UK was to sell to Europe. And that sales pitch, depending what happens with Brexit, might not be quite as attractive as it used to be.
Britain has for many years been firmly cemented into the international landscape of car manufacturing and trading. The UK assembles about 1.5 million cars a year, and 8 out of 10 of them are exported, over half to customers in the European Union. And when it comes to imports, almost all of the 2.3 million new cars bought in the UK each year come from overseas. So how does Britain's taste in cars affect those overseas manufacturers?
For one thing, some of us like our cars fast. There are currently 36,000 registered supercars on our roads. Ninu Gallo, an entrepreneur who started her own property business at age 19, has a bit of a thing for Ferraris.
So when I got my first Ferrari, I fell in love with the car. And there's a new Ferrari coming out next year, which is the F8. Definitely going to be going for that one.
Despite having a price tag of around 200 grand brand new, 1 in 10 of the cars Ferrari builds ends up in Britain, making us one of their most important markets. So how do they entice people to buy cars capable of 200 miles per hour to drive on our congested streets?
What I love is the fact that when you go into spec a vehicle is that you can choose what colour stitching to go for. So for example, on this vehicle, I've decided to go for with the black leather with the red stitching.
Ferrari offers its customers the chance to almost completely customise a car to their own desires. The custom choices Ninu makes in this London showroom are sent instantly 800 miles across Europe to the factory in Maranello, Italy. And that's where I'm heading. This huge factory is spread over 165,000 square meters, yet it only produces around 9,000 cars a year, giving this brand its exclusive appeal.
This is so sweet. Those alloys.
Stephanie and Christina from the factory's tailor-made team offer their most valued customers a plethora of paint colour options and cabin trim in materials ranging from cashmere to carbon fibre.
This is like going to like a Savile Row tailor and getting a bespoke suit.
Yes, it's pretty much the same process, yes.
But for a car.
on a car, yes.
I like it.
Ferrari operates in a completely different way to high-volume car makers, selling its customers not just a car, but their car. Something so special, they expect you to pay a serious deposit before it's even built.
How long does that take to put on the car?
Usually for a tailor-made, it's about 10 to 12 months.
A year?
Yeah, almost.
I come here and I get all excited, spend all this time looking at it, and then I have to wait a year.
But we'll give you pictures that you can look at while you wait for the car.
The custom options I saw today alone would run into tens of thousands of pounds. But despite the chance to create a one-off, Luca Zanetti, head of global sales, knows what British customers are likely to choose.
British customers are very refined, so they are among those who have the highest take rate for special colors, those with 3-4 layers. So when you put a car like that in the sun, it will have a lot of shades. Or when you look at the interior, for example, there are 2 colors, what we call crema and sabbia, which means as much as cream and sand, which are lighter tones inside that the British take more than other customers in the world.
And Ferrari's also aware of its British clients' preferences when it comes to the model of car. Vincenzo Regazzoni is the chief manufacturing officer.
What are the most popular models of Ferrari for the UK customers?
Oh, it's strange to say, but in the UK, they love very much our convertible cars.
Which is crazy, because we don't have convertible weather. You guys, you have convertible weather.
Yeah, we have the sunny summer, spring, yes.
And how important is the UK market to Ferrari?
Oh, UK market is one of the most important for us. I think now it's number 2 in our top 5 markets. And obviously we care very lot of our UK customers.
Only the US buys more Ferraris than the UK. And in 2018, our buying power helped earn the Italian manufacturer record profits of 787 million euros.
This beauty is one of the latest models. It's called a Portofino. It's a convertible. You know what that means? It means the factory's received loads of orders from UK customers. Now, there's no way I could come all the way out here without seeing what all the fuss is about. So the factory has kindly lent me a test driver. Roberto, say hello.
Buongiorno.
Andiamo, amico?
Sì, andiamo.
Let's go. Sales of luxury and performance cars like this have soared in the UK in the last couple of years.
Here we go! Woo! Unleash the beast!
It's
yes,
incredible.
Roberto! Yeah, that is incredible. You feel it here.
Yeah.
Feel it here. It's crazy acceleration.
Because supercar companies operate on a small volume but high price, they'll potentially be less affected by Brexit than mass manufacturers, where margins are thin and pricing is cutthroat.
2:36 p.m. Back at Southampton, the giant vehicle carrier I helped unload this morning is almost ready to sail. These giant ro-ro vessels are instrumental to the global car industry, which relies on a constant flow of parts and vehicles in and out of the country. But with some of them measuring 200 metres long, with up to 13 decks and weighing over 70,000 tonnes, bringing them into harbour can be a monumental task. With a stopping distance of around 2 miles, the only way to dock them safely is with the help of tugboats. So with another ro-ro arriving to collect more vehicles for export, I'm joining tugboat captain Ross Turnbull to see how it can be docked as quickly and safely as possible.
These big ships they can't stop. They're not very good at low speed.
Right.
So we're predominantly here to keep the pilots where they want to be.
The tugs must haul the ship into dock very precisely, but that's particularly difficult here. The narrow stretch of water leading into Southampton conceals a notorious underwater hazard. A sandbar known as Bramble Bank that vessels must navigate around. But with vehicles waiting to be loaded onto this ro-ro, we can't waste time.
And this is our partner tug?
Yes, so this is the Buffalo. We're going to be the stern tug.
Right.
So we're going to be putting the line up on the stern and we'll be there to predominantly stop him and slow him down.
So we're the brakes?
We are the brakes.
As we approach, it's up to me to secure the ro-ro's tow lines to the tug's winch.
Absolutely massive. Look at that. It's like standing below a skyscraper. It's so much bigger right up close than I ever imagined it would be. And it's our job on this tiny little tug, powerful little tug, to actually be the brake for this enormous ro-ro ferry. Okay. Here goes the winch now. Look at it go. And now we get out of it.
That's it, now we get out.
Right,
There's
let's get out.
on it.
It's dangerous to be out here now. If that rope breaks now with that strain, then bang.
The force of the impact could be lethal. So safely inside the tug's cabin, it's time for Captain Ross and a sister vessel to nudge the giant ro-ro into its berth.
On the Buffalo, in easy, please.
So that's the instruction for Buffalo, in easy.
In easy.
So he wants a little bit of push.
So there's the Buffalo coming around to push. Stingray back up to a quarter.
So a bit more brake.
Bit more brake.
Right. The amazing thing is you've got this ro-ro ferry packed full of cars and vehicles. On the quay, you've got buses, you've got tractors, you've got cars to go on, and the whole ship is being controlled by 2 tugs. Thank you! That's line clear of the water.
With the ro-ro safely moored up, it's time for the port's ground crew to start loading the waiting array of cars and commercial vehicles, all bound for export.
Britain has a huge commercial vehicle industry. Nearly 60% go for export. But there's one quintessentially British commercial vehicle. You used to only see them here in Britain, but they're now popping up all over the world.
Taxi! Coventry, please. The black cab is a British design icon, and now the rest of the world wants a piece of it.
A familiar sight in London for over a century, now the Coventry factory that produces them has begun to exploit a big gap in the market: the entire world. The black cab's key advantage is that, unlike almost any other car, it's designed from the ground up for passengers rather than drivers. Showing me how the London taxi appeals to export markets, is Quality Director Mofid El Kamiri.
Hiya. Great to meet you.
Great to meet you as well.
Okay, so most cars are designed for the driver experience. This car is designed for the passenger experience. How do you go about engineering that?
Well, if you follow me, I would like to show you how we do it.
Brilliant, let's go. Whoa, there's a massive robot arm. Why have you got a massive robot arm opening and closing the door?
So we are here in our test and development area, and this is our door closures rig where we're testing the doors to see how long they last.
Why are you testing the passenger door and not the driver's door?
The driver's door is being used normal 4 or 5 times a day.
Yeah.
However, the passenger's door is more than 100 times a day.
How long has this test been going?
This particular test for the last couple of months. However, this body has seen over 2 years of testing. We've done over 2 million cycles with this body.
So this particular car has had its doors open and closed 2 million times?
Over 2 million times.
Does this go on all through the day, 24/7?
24/7.
So you've got one robot there. What's this robot doing?
So this is our long-term durability test for the wheelchair accessible ramp.
So more than any other vehicle, every aspect has to be tested and it has to be trusted. This is a very passenger-orientated vehicle.
Yes, that's correct.
In London, all taxis must comply with a set of detailed requirements first published in 1906, when there were just 100 motorised taxis. They included regulations such as making the roofs high enough so that a gentleman was able to wear a bowler hat while travelling. These days, a taxi that's easy for passengers to access is one of the vehicle's key selling points around the world. And it doesn't stop there.
So one of our most important characteristics of this vehicle, which is unlike any other car in the world, is our turning circle. The vehicle can do a very, very tight U-turn without doing a 3-point turn.
This requirement, arguably the black cab's most famous attribute, was supposedly introduced to accommodate the confines at the entrance to the Savoy Hotel in London. And today, this ability to navigate tight city streets is better than any other taxi on sale worldwide.
How does it work? How do you get a small turning circle?
We've had to change the steering angle of the vehicle to almost double the amount of a normal passenger car. It pushes the whole main corner module, and on a normal average car, it's 37 degrees. On our vehicle, it's 62 degrees, which is let's almost parallel.
The latest incarnation of this historic vehicle has been brought into the 21st century thanks to an all-new electric drive system. With efforts to reduce pollution stepping up around the world, this is another key selling point for commercial director Leighton King.
How important is the export market to you?
London is our home market, of course it is. But actually, we've already sold vehicles into the Netherlands, Germany, Norway.
The company has been targeting export markets for their taxis for 2 years. And as well as these European markets, they're hoping to sell them even further afield. To make sure the cab could be exported to any city in the world, they were tested to destruction in some of the most extreme environments on Earth, from the scorching desert in Arizona to the frozen roads of the Arctic Circle.
Why are these cars so appealing to the foreign market?
It's part of London's fabric, its identity.
Yeah.
But actually, what happens when you go around the world is instantly people see this, they know it's a taxi.
So far, the plant is still gearing up to full capacity, but the intention is to turn out 20,000 a year, half of which they hope will be exported. So we might soon be hailing London taxis in cities everywhere.
"4 p.m. and back at Southampton, it's rush hour. Like a never-ending relay race, more than 120 vessels arrive into Southampton every month, all filled with cars for British customers and components for our factories.
It's obvious that the British car industry has to run like clockwork. And if any single part goes wrong, whether caused by significant border delays or higher tariffs, then the whole supply chain can grind to a halt with massive financial implications.
But when most of our cars go in and out by sea, the biggest obstacle can be Mother Nature. To To see how the port copes with it, I'm heading to the control room to meet Harbour Master Captain Phil Buckley.
So everything happening in the port.
So this is where we control the whole marine function here in Southampton. There's a whole bunch of information. This is a lot of mixture of CCTV, weather, tidal information. They're all critical information that the guys in here need to operate with.
Like air traffic controllers, it's up to Phil and his team to ensure the multi-million-pound vessels can get in and get out safely and on schedule.
The biggest thing I'm interested in is the weather and the tide. So there's a screen here that you can see. We're showing the wind speed. The tide is fine today, but we're expecting the wind to really pick up to over 20 knots this afternoon at 2 o'clock.
So today the issue is not the tide, it's the wind.
It's the wind today, yep. So we've had a ship, the Neptune Galeen, come in this morning. He really needs to finish his operation by about 2 o'clock when we're expecting the wind to be at a level he probably can't operate. Right. And he, of course, is quite keen to get his cars off and get out of the port again.
The interesting, when you look at that screen there, how wide is that channel there?
Well, ships can't pass each other there.
They can't pass?
They've got to come out of that turn in exactly the right line to be able to come up the channel and round the corners into Southampton.
So only one big ship at a time could go through there?
Anything over about 120 metres long, which is not a big ship in our terms. Only one of them can be in that channel at any given time.
Right.
Yeah, so you can't get
it's
past.
not a motorway, it's actually...
Yeah, you're coming off the motorway straight into a very narrow country lane.
I've got to say, if I was driving a 400-metre ship with containers like that, I'm not sure country lanes would I want to drive it down.
No, but the pilots have huge skill to be able to do this.
The highly skilled people who pilot these humongous ships in and out of Britain's docks are another crucial part of this industry. But learning their hugely responsible job is a curious activity. This is Timsbury Lake, a world-class training centre for ship handling. Odd as it may look, these miniature ships and waterways are a highly effective simulator for their full-size equivalent. Sean O'Toole is one of the instructors.
Sean, pleased to meet you, Ed. Good to see you. Welcome to Timsbury.
Well, I have to say, to me, this looks like a big pond with model ships in it. But actually, you do a really serious thing here.
Well, absolutely. This is the only centre in this country. We get people from all over the world come and train and learn the art of ship handling.
So if I promise to take it really seriously...
You want to go ahead?
I'd like to have a go.
Let's have a go, then, shall we?
At around 1 to 25 scale, the motorboats are precisely designed to steer and propel like the real thing, meaning pilots can get hands-on experience before they tackle these manoeuvres in a multi-million-pound vessel.
So this is the boat?
Yes, sir. After you then,
no, you go first, I'll follow you in.
So we come. Yeah, take a seat.
Thank you.
There we are. There we are. We've got this down here.
Good.
OK, welcome to the Challenger, Ed. So you've got all the controls there. OK.
Sean has challenged me to make a loop of the lake and bring it back to dock safely without crashing into the trees or hitting any of the buoys. Sounds simple enough.
So between these two white buoys.
The models are engineered to respond 5 times faster than their full-size versions. So balancing the rudder, twin engines and bow thrusters is a delicate and demanding task.
You're like an American pilot, you are.
What does that mean?
A full ahead, full of stern, but nothing in between. So come round this green buoy and head for that red buoy. We would then come astern and back it in there. OK?
Back in there?
Yeah. So we've just got to move her over to your side a bit. So how are you going to do that? Yeah, perfect.
If I was docking a huge shipload of cars, there'd be millions of pounds at stake right now.
We just want to move over to you a bit.
Ah.
Good.
Do you think I scraped the sides?
Maybe just a little bit of paintwork, maybe. Just a little bit of paintwork.
Bit of paintwork.
That's all.
Sean is being generous. A bump like that, scaled up, could have damaged dozens of cars inside the vessel. training like this is clearly very useful. By 6 p.m, at docks around the UK, on average 4,400 cars will have come in, and 2,500 cars assembled here will have gone out. But that's not the end of the story. We also produce around 2.7 million engines a year, many of which go for export to car factories across Europe.
They're mainly powered with diesel or petrol, but all that's going to change. There's a revolution coming. Increasingly, we're going to be filling up our cars at stations like this, plugging them in and powering them with electricity.
The shift to electric power is approaching fast. By 2040, the UK is going to ban all new petrol and diesel car and van sales. And that change will need to be delivered by our car industry.
I've come to the USA to see what the future of car production in the UK could look like. I've travelled 5,000 miles to Nevada to one of the biggest man-made structures on Earth. Oh my days. Look at that, this place is huge. It's absolutely mega. I'm gonna go and check it out. This is the Tesla Gigafactory. The high-end electric car company is constructing the biggest building in the world by footprint. Almost all the factory is devoted to building electric car batteries. Hello. I'm going for a test drive with Aaron Sheksi, a manufacturing engineer at Tesla.
As soon as I press on the pedal, it's going to push that electricity straight into the motor, and you're going to feel that acceleration right away.
Whoa, we feel that acceleration. That's pretty cool.
It's instant as well, so that's one of the benefits of an electric vehicle is you have that instant acceleration.
And the other thing, no sound, no engine sound.
Of course, no engine sound, much quieter, more peaceful drive for you.
With an electric motor at the back driving the rear wheels and the latest battery technology, the performance and range are impressive. Electric cars have gone from being an oddity to an everyday sight.
Can the performance of an electric car match a combustion car?
I would say that the Tesla electric car beats all our internal combustion competitors in terms of performance in their class.
To see how Tesla's batteries are made, I'm meeting the factory's Vice President of Operations, Chris Lister.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, really good. How you doing?
I'm great, thanks.
This place is huge.
It's enormous, right?
Yeah. I mean, tell me, how big is it?
Well, we have about 5 million square feet of space inside the facility right now, and it's only a third of the way done.
The factory is being built in phases so that manufacturing can continue inside the finished sections while construction is still underway.
Why is this factory so big?
Well, we needed to begin producing batteries, cells, and packs at scale. The battery is really the most expensive part of the vehicle. We need to drive down the cost of that, and so building a gigafactory like this at the scale that it is allow us to achieve economies of scale.
An automotive battery is actually made up of individual cells. This facility can produce millions of them per day.
So here we are, we're at the start of the process. As you can see, there's a lot of things going on here.
Yeah, it's crazy.
This is the size of one cell. There's about 4,000 of these in every vehicle.
These cells use the lithium-ion technology also found in laptops and smartphones. Packed together, they form one giant 350-volt battery.
This is a partially finished pack right now. We're in the middle of the pack assembly process.
And it's the heart of the car, basically, isn't it?
You could say that, for sure.
These partially finished packs are next sealed in a protective casing, bolted together, and will fit under the whole floor area of the car. Despite the size of the operation, producing electric cars on a scale large enough that they can be sold affordably has proved challenging. A top-end Tesla might set you back about £85,000. Jerome Guillon, president of the Automotive division, wants to change that.
For a lot of people, one of the problems with Tesla is the price point.
I know that the price is fairly high, and so we always have to increase production to lower the costs so we can lower the prices and make sure that as many people as possible can afford them. We strongly believe that in just a few years, all new cars will and should be electric.
Tesla is certainly making inroads into the UK market. Its latest model, selling at just over £35,000, became the first fully electric car to enter the UK's top 10 monthly bestsellers. The demand for electric is clear. So how is Britain's car industry responding to that demand? I've come to University College London to meet Tony Harper from the Faraday Institution. It was established in 2017 as part of a multi-million-pound government investment to create a homegrown battery industry here in Britain.
Where are we today? Where is the UK in terms of the rest of the world when it comes to battery?
We've got some really great scientists, we've got really great engineers. From a science point of view, we're right up there. In terms of our industrialization, we're quite a little bit behind at the moment. We've got to go from being a manufacturer of engines to being a giga manufacturer of batteries. By the end of the decade, we'll need about 3 of them.
The equivalent of 3 Tesla Gigafactories
in the UK.
In the UK.
By the end of the 2020s, yes.
Tony, are we able to compete realistically with the giants of Tesla and the Chinese when it comes to battery technology?
Well, we shouldn't forget we've had a battery plant in Sunderland since 2012, but we're also building a state-of-the-art prototype gigafactory, if you like, in Coventry. We're now pushing coming back.
So our future is battery charged, definitely.
Yes.
The Nissan Leaf, Europe's best-selling electric car, has been assembled in Sunderland since 2013, and other manufacturers are now also beginning to invest in electric vehicle production here. Worldwide sales for all-electric and petrol-electric hybrids are growing steadily and are expected to soar in the coming years. With science, infrastructure and investment, Britain's car industry needs to play a big part in that trade.
It's now 8 p.m, and in total today, £192 million worth of cars and automotive parts have been imported and exported through Britain.
I started early today when the first roll-on, roll-off ferry came into the port of Southampton for unloading. And it's now late in the evening, but this port doesn't stop. This is a 7-day-a-week, 24-hour, round-the-clock, round-the-world business.
I've seen how systems such as just-in-time manufacturing have revolutionised how we build cars, and how our spending power can have a massive impact on car makers around the world. I've seen how we've been able to reinvent ourselves and how we trade on our reputation for craftsmanship. And most importantly, I've seen how our trading relationships are fundamental to how this global business works.
But given how much our car industry relies on a close relationship with Europe, it clearly now faces a challenging future.